This ship hasn't touched such water in over 30 years. It sits rusting in the middle of a desert, in a place where children now herd camels across the sand. But turn the clock back to 1960, and everything around it was underwater, the floor of the fourth largest lake on the face of the Earth. This is the story of how an entire sea was wiped off the map on purpose, and of the small stretch of water now fighting its way back. The Aral Sea lay on the border of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan in the dry heart of Central Asia. It stretched across roughly 68,000 square kilometers, the fourth largest lake on the planet, larger than the whole island of Ireland, and so wide you could not see the far shore. Two great rivers kept it alive: the Amu Darya, flowing up from the south, and the Seir Darya, curving in from the northeast. For thousands of years, they carried meltwater from distant mountains and emptied it into the Aral. On its shores, fishing towns like Moynak and Aralsk thrived, landing tens of thousands of tons of fish every year and feeding an entire region. Tens of thousands of people made their living from these waters, and the Aral's catch was shipped clear across the Soviet Union. The sea felt permanent. It felt impossible to drain. It was neither. In the 1960s, the Soviet Union looked at the deserts of Central Asia and saw opportunity. It wanted cotton, white gold, and cotton is thirsty. So Soviet engineers began diverting the two rivers that fed the Aral, channeling their water out across the sands to irrigate vast new cotton fields. The scale was staggering. Canals ran for hundreds of kilometers, and many were little more than open ditches that leaked most of their water into the desert along the way. And Moscow knew exactly what this would do. Planners had already decided the sea's death was, in their words, acceptable, a fair price to pay for cotton. So the river stopped reaching the Aral, and a body of water the size of a small country was left to evaporate under the desert sun. At first, the change was slow. Then it accelerated. Seen from space, year after year, you can watch a sea die in real time. By the late 1980s, the Aral had split in two: a small North Aral in Kazakhstan and a large South Aral in Uzbekistan. The south kept falling, splitting again into a deep western arm and a shallow eastern one. Every year, the green shallows shrink back, the pale, dry seabed spreads, and the blue drains away. Then, in 2014, for the first time in perhaps 600 years, the entire eastern basin of the South Aral vanished completely, bone dry. All told, the Aral lost around 90% of its water. The shoreline retreated more than 100 kilometers from the towns that once lived off it, leaving their harbors stranded in the dust. What the water left behind was worse than emptiness. As the sea pulled away, it stranded entire fishing fleets on dry land, the eerie ship graveyards that made the Aral a symbol of disaster. The water that remained grew salt-heavy and lifeless. Nearly all of the sea's 24 native fish species died out, and the industry that had fed the region collapsed almost overnight. Moynak, once a busy port city of tens of thousands, found itself stranded dozens of kilometers from any water at all, its harbor a field of rusting hulls. But the real danger rose with the wind. The bare seabed was caked not only with salt, but with decades of pesticides and fertilizer washed down from the cotton fields upstream. Storms tore this toxic dust into the sky and carried it for hundreds of kilometers into people's fields and lungs. Rates of respiratory disease, of cancers, of infant death, all climbed. The sea had even softened the local weather. Without it, the summers turned hotter and the winters colder. And as the waterline fell, it uncovered a buried secret. Vozrojdeniya Island, a former Soviet biological weapons testing ground, now joined to the mainland by open walkable land. And yet, this is not only a story of loss. In the north, Kazakhstan decided to fight back. In 2005, with help from the World Bank, they completed a 13-kilometer dam, the Aral Dike, sealing off the North Aral and trapping the Seir Darya's water inside it. The effect was almost immediate. Within a few years, the North Aral rose by meters. Its salt levels fell, native fish returned, and the boats of Aral put to sea again. Catches that had dwindled to almost nothing climbed back into the thousands of tons. The water even crept back toward towns it had abandoned decades before. The North Aral, at least in part, was reborn. But the giant South Aral in Uzbekistan was largely left to die. Most of it is now a brand new desert, the Aralkum, a plain of poisoned salt where a sea used to breathe. Uzbekistan now plants hardy shrubs across the dry bed, trying to pin the toxic dust in place, while drilling below it for oil and gas. So today the Aral wears two faces. A small northern sea alive again with fish and boats, and a vast southern ghost, one of the largest deserts humans have ever made. One lake holding both a warning and a fragile second chance. In the end, all it ever needed was for the rivers to come home.